everyone, it's Chinyere here, and I look a little bit different. I put my hair in a little ponytail bun thingy, but whatever. So yeah, I thought I would tell you guys about the time when I was 18 or 19 and a boyfriend actually stole from me. Now, I feel like, God, story times like this are really important because you just never know who you're talking to, and you can't stop things from happening a lot of times. So I have to be honest with y'all, like 19 was just like a really pivotal year for me. It was honestly, this was the point in my life when I found out that like they can be really evil, really conniving. They will lie, cheat, steal, don't do anything. And I don't know, when I was younger, I just kind of like, I always thought like the better in people, and I always thought, oh, this won't happen to me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when I was 18, I got my very first apartment in Houston. And like I said in other story times, you know, I was just like the new girl in the city, and I was honestly just trying to survive. So it's funny whenever I see like story times of people getting robbed, and it's like, oh, well, it's because you had money and you were flossing. No, listen guys, if somebody is gonna rob you, they're not gonna stop to think like, you know what, this person has a family, this person is poor. Like very rarely do people stop to think about that. They don't care. They just see something that they want and they will steal from you. So it just makes me laugh whenever I see people saying that, like for example, Kim Kardashian. It's crazy whenever I see people like Wendy Williams saying that Kim shouldn't be showing her wedding ring on social media and bragging about it, or just showing it in general, because it's like, do you think that somebody's gonna think like they only targeted her because she's rich? No, people will target you to steal from you whether you have nothing. I had just turned 18 when I moved to Houston, like a few months before this incident happened, and it was like November, December, and I really needed a job, like really needed money, and my rent was like nothing at my apartment, but I still couldn't even afford to really keep it up. But I was just happy to be moved out, and even my mom was actually staying with me, helping me. Because she believed in her daughter and she was just really proud of me, so she was helping me. So I ended up getting this job at Ross. And, you know, I was doing cashier work. It was a temporary seasonal job, but I was doing really, really good at it. And every time he would come to flip my register, there was so much in there because I was getting the people in. My line was moving really, really, really fast. Like, I would be done ringing up and people would still be getting out their wallets and stuff. So I was doing really good at my job. I would work like 12-hour shifts, split shifts sometimes. Sometimes I had to work till 2 in the morning because I was putting back racks and I was cleaning up the entire store, and people didn't want to do it, but I really needed a job and I really needed the overtime, which they were offering a little bit during the holiday season. So I was working my butt off. And I ended up getting a second job at Macy's. I would get off of Macy's at 4 o'clock. I had to be at Ross by 4:30, so I worked at the gallery in Houston. It would take me like 15 minutes. I was always late to Ross, but I would get on the bus and I would ride all the way down to Gessner, and you know, I would just do my job at Ross. So while I was there, I don't remember really how I met this guy, but I ended up meeting him. It was like while I was at work. He was really, really cute. This Spanish guy. I remember his name. It was Joshua Quintanilla, and I had never heard of the name Quintanilla in my life. I didn't even know that was a real name. I thought it was fake, but apparently it's like a really common Spanish name, but that's not the Spanish names I would hear. But anyway, he just really stood out because of his name. So when he came into my line and he just started talking to me, and cute guys, honestly, like it was like a bunch of bums because I was really thin and I was kind of cute back then, so guys always thought I was in a relationship and I wasn't. So when he came up to me, he started talking to me, we exchanged numbers, I was in line, and then I think he came back later on that night, and he actually, like he came back again that night, and he hung out with me on my lunch break, and then like after that, he would always bring me to work because he would see that I was like really trying to get to work and really trying to make money. And he would always say, wow, you know, I really like your drive. You know, I would get up at literally 7 o'clock a.m. in the morning, and I wouldn't be done with work until like 2 o'clock sometimes. But it was usually around like 1 or like midnight. And yeah, we did this for weeks. He was really nice. I would see him like once or twice a week, and even if we didn't hang out, he would at least take me home. Now y'all, I was not living in like this great amazing neighborhood. It was not. My rent was like $450. I got it on a special. It was usually like $560. It was a 1-bedroom, and like the apartments just weren't that great. Like I lived across the street from 2 strip clubs, like, and it wasn't great. I didn't have roaches, but I ended up getting like bed bugs because the entire building, like the entire complex was infested. So I was really just hustling with my first apartment. Anyway, one night, he comes over after like a month or so. We were just having fun, hanging out, and he spends the night. You know, it wasn't like nothing sexual or anything, but he did spend the night. And then that was it. You know, he dropped me off to work, and then he went on about his day. Then like the next week, he spent the night again, and nothing happened. He wasn't even like pushing me for sex, which was really not normal, because at that point in my life, everybody was trying to like have sex, and they were pressuring me, and they were like lying and just doing all kinds of stuff just to have sex. So with him, I think that, you know, obviously he wouldn't have minded, but it wasn't like a make or break situation like other people would make it if we didn't have sex. So that was cool too. So I was really starting to like this guy and everything. And plus he was just really cute. He had like, I think he had like these little like dimples or something. He was just really cute, and I never even cared for dimples, but his was, you know, they were cute. He looked like a little baby, almost like a baby adult. And he was a little bit older than me. Like I said, I was 18 and he was probably like 20, maybe like 19 or 20. So yeah, now I didn't suspect anything. I saw he just had a normal Nissan like Maxima. It was like a 2007. He said that he lived with his parents. They lived in like a nice little 2-story subdivision, a couple like communities away, and that he was in school and he was doing art. So that was it that I really knew about him. We would go on our little dates, and I was just really focused at that point. I was really just focused on working and trying to make a living, you know, paying my mom back and stuff. And just, you know, trying to keep up and everything. So my brother came in from Dallas from school, and he actually started staying with me. My brother, like, listen, I grew up extremely poor. I had never had a laptop. Like, I was 19. Seeing these kids with like MacBooks and like, I never had none of that. And this was actually my first time having a cell phone. I got my first cell phone at 17. I bought it when I was working at like TGI Fridays. So I had a Metro PCS phone, and you know, I would honestly, like, a lot of times when I would be eating at that apartment, it was because I went on dates, and I would like get a lot of food, and then I would take it home, and then the next day I would eat it like for lunch. Like, I was really struggling and stuff. And I had this little desktop computer, and I had a bed, but that was pretty much it. Like, I would sometimes even have cable. Like, that's how bad it was. So, you know, I would tell him, you know, hey, I don't really have that much furniture. I just have a bed. And he would be like, oh, that's cool. And so my brother came to stay with me. He was just home like temporarily for like a month or like a couple weeks for Christmas break, right? I didn't even make like a spare key. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking, right? But we had been going so long well without it. Like, I would tell him, hey, I'm leaving the house. And he would be like, okay, I'm home. Or, hey, I'm going to lock the door because I'm leaving the house. What time will you be back? It was that type of thing that we had going on. Plus, my mom was usually home too. So it was always somebody home, right? So we had just never like stopped. And I was always working to go and get a key. So every time he was free to get it, I needed my key or something. It was always something. I was really busy. Or I literally just didn't have the extra $1 and I needed it for like bus fare because I didn't know who was going to pick me up and take me home that day. Anyway, one day Josh spends the night. This is like his third time spending the night. It was cool. He always would bring me to work, and sometimes he would bring me home. My brother was there, and my brother was like, hey, I'm gonna go run to go do something downstairs. He was like, I'm gonna go for a run. Now, I told my brother, hey, I have work in a little bit, you know, because we don't leave the door unlocked, and my mom was not home. The laptop, I would put it in my room because I didn't know, and I would leave the door unlocked when I went to work. And this is one of the first times I had ever left the door unlocked, right? I put the laptop in my room, and then I tell Josh, oh, I'm just gonna leave this under the table. I shouldn't have even told him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I should have said, shit, you guys already know what's about to happen. And so me and Josh, we leave, and so I motion to Josh, like, I'm like, you know, I start to fake lock the door, and I'm like, oh, you know, just gotta fake lock it or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's smart. Y'all, I leave, and Josh drops me back to work, right? And while I'm at work, I get a phone call, and it's from my brother screaming, and he's literally crying. He is crying, and I would have cried too, y'all. He's like, my laptop is gone. Did you take it to work with you? Did you take it? And I said, no. And I'm literally ringing up, and I'm like, no, because my brother never calls me, especially not during the day. No way. And I was like, no, what's wrong? He says, somebody stole my laptop. And he's like screaming at the top of his lungs, y'all. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm thinking to myself, like, should I leave work? And I'm like, no, we need money. So I tell him, don't worry, call the police, and I'll be home in like 2 hours. I'm just gonna go home a little bit early. He's like, okay. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I call Josh, on my lunch break because there was not much I could do. And then I called, he didn't answer, so I called him again. I said, hey, did you see my brother's, did you go back to my house? And he said, no, I'm just at my house chilling. So I'm like, okay, are you sure? He's like, yeah. So, you know, we get off the phone. My brother called the police, and the police say that they can't do nothing about it because it was under $5,000. So then, like, I don't think my brother even had Find My iPhone. I don't even know if it was an app back then. This was like almost 7 years ago, so I don't know. Like, apps honestly were not that big when back then. Apps just started getting big, like I said, like 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But I don't even know if they had Find My iPhone or, you know, whatever that was connected with the laptop, and he didn't even have an iPhone too. And we were like, what is there, some type of tracking, something? So yeah, the police couldn't do nothing about it. They had just taken my brother's laptop, and I knew it was Josh. So listen, guys, when I was younger, I was crazy. Like, I was one of those people, God, I'm so glad I've gotten like a lot better. But you know, y'all, I know I be telling stories about me like fighting. I was very proper. People did not expect this out of me, but like if you talked crazy to me, I would slap the fuck out of you. I don't care who you were. We would just be fighting. You know what I'm saying? Even like in school, like just out. Nothing was that different. I planned it. I acted totally normal with Josh. I told my brother, I said, look, and y'all listen, I am not proud of myself about what I'm about to say to y'all, okay? I'm not proud of myself. This was like back then, obviously, okay? I told my brother, I said, we gotta get him. Honestly, we're gonna break the windows in his, I'm gonna lure him over here. I'm gonna break the windows in his car, and I'm just gonna play it cool. And my brother was like, my brother is, especially like such an angel and such a good person. He is not one of those people. He is not like that. He will literally just cry it out for a couple months and honestly just mourn it, and then, you know, get over it. And just probably think about it like for years later, because he's even like, it's about to be 2017. He even like still gets down about it because of the turmoil that happened because he did not have a laptop for his art school, and that he bought that laptop specifically for art school, and it was really hurtful. So I knew this. I knew, obviously, I can barely afford $450 rent. And I can't even keep up with my cable and my light bill. I had no car, no insurance. My phone bill was like $40. Like, and we were struggling to even eat, and it was all of us together. So how the fuck are we ever gonna afford? And you don't get another like student loan until the fall. The summer they would just pay for your classes, but you weren't getting another disbursement. So he was gonna have to wait another 6 months, and he couldn't even pass his classes. This guy who stole from us, he doesn't even understand what he did to my family. Like, literally, we were really broke. And you know when you have no money and then you get that little glimmer of hope, like somebody does something for you? My brother's financial aid, and he was so responsible with it. Like, and so he bought his laptop, he paid his rent for the fall, but he literally had nothing after that. He would just go back to his apartment. He would have to borrow people's computers. He would constantly have to go back to the school to use the computer because he didn't have one. It really like fucked with his trust. Mine too. Honestly, dating was hell after that. I was just like, and I felt, you guys have to understand, like the guilt that I felt. I was like, I did all of this. You know, if I wouldn't have left the house, you know, I had to go to work. I had to make a living. But if the guy didn't know that, you know, my brother didn't have a key, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even though I had no proof, I know he did it. There's no way. I know this guy did it. So anyway, like I said, guys, I went and I planned it out. I told my brother, like, I went and I borrowed some rope from one of my neighbors. And I had some type of like stick. Yeah, I was gonna have my brother like knock him out, and I was gonna beat the fuck out of this guy with a stick and then tie him up. That was my plan. That was the plan, guys. And it sounded so normal. Like, I was just casually telling my brother, and my brother was like, no, like, this sounds terrible. But I was like, listen, whether you want to do it or not, I'm gonna do it. So, you know, whatever. So then you know, I do the casual. I act like nothing happened because Josh knows what he did, right? So I'm like, hey, you know, we're talking daily. This nigga is so terrible that he's acting like nothing happened. So one day, it didn't take much. I said, hey, you want to come over tonight? We're all just hanging out. He said, sure. He comes over, right? I got the rope from my neighbor. My neighbor was going to need it back the next day, so I was really on a time crunch. You know, I had found like the Spanish people. I had a lot of Spanish people that lived in my neighborhood, and a lot of the women, they would wash their clothes in like a big like aluminum like a tin pan or like tub, they would wash it and they would have a big stick, and the older women, they would be doing that. So I saw a big wooden stick that was just laid out, and I took it, and it had like a sharp end. Not super sharp, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It looked like a big like wooden spoon. It was very long, and I could just beat the hell, take the sharp part and just get his eyes like on. Anyway, you know, turn it a little bit. What? I was ready. So, you know, Josh walks in. I got the rope in the corner. I had the big spoon by the cabinet or whatever. And I'm telling my brother, I'm like, let's do this. Come on, let's go, let's go. My brother is like, no. He's like, no, I'm not gonna like do this with you. I'm not gonna be a part of your bullshit. So I'm like, are you serious? Like, I had literally planned this out, guys. When I was ringing up at Ross, I was literally just thinking about how I'm gonna get Josh, how I'm gonna get Josh, how I'm gonna get Josh. So, my brother, he's very nice, so he starts kind of just asking like, hey, you know, so Josh, you know, what do you do like for school? He's like, I'm in art. He's like, oh, so I guess you need like electronics for that? You know, yeah. I'm like, really? So then Josh starts to get flirty with me or whatever, so I'm just trying to like play along. My brother just starts watching TV, so now I'm left with him. So my mom was in the room, and I asked my mom, I was like, do you mind like going out to go ahead and hang out with your friends for a little bit? Because I really did not want my mom to be no part of this, right? Because I was honestly like, so me and Josh, my mom wouldn't leave, so we started playing around. And Josh was trying to get kinky in the living room. This was the weirdest thing. All of a sudden, he goes from not wanting sex to all of a sudden being playful in the living room, like being real playful. So I reached for the rope. And I just kind of tie his hands up, right? Like, just tie his hands up, like, for fun or whatever, for fun. And I'm like, my brother sees us, what we're doing. And I go like this. Because, you know, Josh is like, that's him, y'all. And I'm like, you know, right here, you know, and I just, oh God. My brother, he comes over and he says, stop it, stop. And I was just like, okay. I let the rope go, and I told Josh, okay, well, anyway, look, we're done for the night. Like, I'm good. You know, I'm just kind of want to go to sleep. And he's like, oh, already? And I'm like, yes. I'm ready to go to bed. My mom even walked in on us doing one of those. He was just all of a sudden doing these weird positions, and I kept telling him to like get off me. It was so weird. All of a sudden, when my family is at the house, he has all this courage, but when me and him were like alone, nothing, like crickets. But anyway, so he ends up leaving. I ended up making this fake profile, like, because I was like, oh, you know, we could FaceTime. It was like a fake profile because I wanted to see if he had an Apple computer, because from what I knew, he did not have one, you know, and stuff. And he was just not really even catching the bait. And my brother, one day, he was like, man, I should have done something, right? And I was like, yes, you should have punched his lights out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have did the one-hitter quitter on his bitch ass. My brother is like 6'2". Josh was like 5'8", maybe he was a little bit shorter than me. He was not, and he was also not very big. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have really gave it to him, honestly. Even if he didn't get his computer back, at least beat the hell out of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, some, you know, but whatever. Okay, we could have gotten in a lot of trouble. So yeah, it's been obviously years, and you know, nothing really happened. I never got my computer back. I know it was you, Josh Quintanilla. He was on Facebook. He is very light skinned, and he got like a big kind of like round head, and he looks like a little kid, and he's kind of cute. He is cute, honestly. So yeah, if you guys see him, he's in Houston, Texas, last time I checked, and he steals large electronics from people. And he's, you know, I think that's just crazy. He knew what he was doing. Now, this happened around the holidays. This guy, like I said, this was around December, November, but I know it was closer to December because my hours were really picking up at work. And this guy, like, he made sure to do this around the holidays. He could have honestly rewrapped this and act like he got it at a pawn shop and gave it to his cousin, or he could have just used it for himself. You know what I'm saying? It was such a sad Christmas for us to have something like that taken away. Just to show you guys like an example of how poor, I'll show you guys a picture of me back when I was like 18. I had bought myself gifts, like, because I was working in an area that was like rainbow and there was different places, and I had bought myself a few cute shirts, and then I had just wrapped them. I had went to Macy's and I had got like some free boxes for, because you know, back at Macy's they would give you like free holiday boxes at around the time. So I took my shirts that I bought at Rainbow. They were like $2 a piece, a bunch of them, and I just wrapped them up and I put them under the tree. And then like a few weeks later, I opened them. But I had actually bought myself those gifts because we didn't have any money, and so but it just felt good to like open something around that time. That's probably why I'm not that festive anymore, because it's like whatever. But yeah, that's just to show you how much of an impact, sadly. And it's like, you couldn't have stolen from us at like a more worse time, honestly. Like, if he were to do it now, we would all kind of like gather together and help my brother. But like, back then, it really sucks. So think about your actions. Think about what the hell you're doing and get yourself a job, honestly. If you think that you need to steal, especially such large items from people, get a motherfucking job, you lazy asshole. Get a job, any of you. If you're watching this and you steal, like, get a job. You're lazy, honestly. Do something with yourself. Make a YouTube channel. Go make some money. Go get it. But don't get other people's shit. So yeah, like I said, guys, it had a huge backlash on my family. Like, so if you guys think that somebody who is trying to steal only steals from the rich, they're not going to say, whoa, no, let's not get them. They don't have no money. No. If somebody wants to steal a charger from you, they will steal it knowing it's your only charger. If somebody sees that you have $10 and your pocket sticking out and you get up and walk, like, they can pick it. People will steal from your purse. They steal at Walmart. They will steal from you at Walmart. They will steal from you in the hood. So if you think that you have to be rich, no. People will literally take from you, and they know you don't have nothing. And that's what he did. We didn't have nothing, honestly, obviously. And he took the last thing that we had, like, a part of my brother's education. So that just goes to show you guys. Like, and seriously, like, after that, like, I was in such denial. I was like, how could somebody do that to me? Like, I literally did nothing to him. And you don't have to do nothing to nobody. They'll just do it. If they have it in them, they'll take from you. So anyway, guys, like I said, be careful. You can't stop people, and you never know your intentions. Obviously, he didn't have good intentions, but he played his part. He was very nice. And my apartment, I had no couch. My brother had a mattress in the living room, like a twin mattress on the floor in the living room, guys. That's how, we were really poor, and I think me and my mom were actually sleeping in the same bed. And we had those two glimmer of hopes. We had like a cell phone. Each of us had a little cell phone. I had an old Dell desktop refurbished computer, and my brother had his laptop, and he took my brother's laptop. So that just goes to show you, with a little bit of food in the refrigerator, people will take your last, people will take your crumbs, and they really just don't give a fuck. So yeah, guys, that was it for my story time. Obviously, things have changed. It's funny because I actually bought like an old, like my brother had an old, like it was like a 2012 MacBook, and he got it in 2011, so obviously it was like the newest one. I actually have one now. I'm using an older computer. How things change. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my story time. Hope you liked it. I'll talk to you guys later, and oh my gosh, Happy New Year. It's coming. It's coming.